In the tradition of Malcolm X, peace be unto you. White supremacy is a religion. It is a religion based upon mythological beliefs. Millions of white Americans are white supremacists, either knowingly or unknowingly. That is to say, they may think they're not a white supremacist, but they share in the benefits and privileges of being in a white supremacist culture and do nothing to change it, because their fundamental self-perception is rooted in the ideas passed down to them, internalized by them emotionally and psychologically, that they are superior, that they are exceptional. It is enforced by their institutions. It is enforced by their families. It is enforced by their religious institutions, because Christianity is a mask of white supremacy. European Christianity, I should be more specific, is a mask of white supremacy. And all one need do is study the iconography of Christianity. Look at the pictures. Look at the depictions of God. If you are a Christian, and when you close your eyes to pray and think of God, if you see a white man, you are a white supremacist. White supremacy is also enforced by their police forces and the military on other nations around the world, as well as upon citizens who are not white people. Once you understand the irrational foundation of white supremacy, you may begin to understand why young white males who are white supremacists can go out and kill dozens and dozens and dozens of innocent people, African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, Muslims, and not have remorse, because they truly believe and they are emotionally in sync with their group that what they have done is right according to their religious worldview, even if they have a secularized version of their white supremacist belief. It is rooted in religion. That religion originated thousands of years ago, approximately 1500 BC. It originated in what was called the Indus Valley region, which was once the home of the Indus Valley civilization, a civilization populated by black people who had migrated out of Africa. See, you've got to expand your history of Africa. Africa is not just the continent of Africa. Africa is the world, because everyone came out of Africa. It was a great agricultural civilization. And when I say agricultural civilization, I mean that its economy was based upon agriculture, and it did not use slaves as laborers. In fact, the ancient Indus Valley civilization had laws against making weapons. But that's another lecture for another day. What happened to it? In about 1100 BC, a 250-year drought came to an end. But as it came to an end, it had destroyed every Bronze Age empire that we read about in our history books. The old kingdom of Egypt, ancient Egypt, that kingdom which is known for the Great Pyramids, and many other empires in the Mediterranean area and near the Euphrates and Tigris rivers all came down, completely destroyed. People from the north, called Ardians, slowly migrated south from the area that today is called the Black Sea. They invaded that area that we call the Indus Valley region. And they committed what today we would call genocide on those people who lived there. At that time, the priests of the Aryan tribes wrote a book together called the Law Code of Manu. And in that book, it classified black people as lower caste, untouchables, and that their status in this new Aryan society was determined by a deity that they call Purusha. At the top of their caste hierarchy were the Brahmins. They were the oracles of God. But you got to understand this point because it's very important so that you understand why these killers, as well as police officers who kill and murder African Americans, have no remorse for their actions, and why they're supported by so many of their comrades. The belief, one of the cardinal beliefs in the Law Code of Manu, is that black people are born with a body but not a soul. It's called Divaja, D-V-I-J-A, Divaja. They believe that the Aryan people, the higher caste people, are born with a body and a soul. And so the qualitative difference between the people has two sides. Black people have no soul, and that is evidenced by their blackness or their brownness, and they are the lower caste of slaves to be used and exploited, to grow wealth for the upper caste, to clean their feces from the latrines, which they still do to this day. That is at the heart of their definition of black people. And you must understand that the version of Christianity which is taught today, that Western version, that nasty version, that version of Christianity that defines man to be God, man in the form of a white man, overlaps perfectly with the basic fundamental worldview of Hinduism and its color hierarchy, the Varna system. Varna means color. If you read the Law Code of Manu and you take the early doctrines, including the Constitution of the United States as well as the other states, you will see a perfect overlap. The doctrine of exclusion is one example. Written in Maryland, it stated very clearly, very directly, that black people and their descendants will never enjoy the fruits of American society. That concept of exclusion was carried over into the Constitution when it defined African people as 3/5 all others for congressional voting purposes, and reduced to the status of chattel property, meaning disqualified as human beings, meaning having no soul that is recognized by law, no soul, no spiritual nature, just a body to be used. And that is why it was easy, then as well as today, for white supremacists to feel no remorse for killing black people or killing Mexican people or Native Americans, because they truly do not believe that they are killing a human being. They call themselves twice born. Black people are once born. Once born means that you are born with a body but not a soul. Twice born means you are born with a body and a soul. And for that reason, you are superior. Because along with that soul comes intellect, the power of reason. Well, that's the belief. And they have acted upon that belief for thousands of years, beginning in India, as it is continued to this day in Africa, in Europe, in the United States, in Australia, and they do it systematically because it is institutionalized. It is an institutionalized religious orientation that may be called many things. It may be called ideology. It may be called political science. But it is a religious belief because it is fundamentally based upon an irrational premise, backed up by police power and military power and a willingness to kill everything in order to support their interests. Read Thomas Jefferson's only book, Notes on the State of Virginia. Go to the chapter, Query 14. Read his description of African people. Read it so that you understand that his definition of African people is exactly the definition that you will find in the Law Code of Manu. Read all of the other doctrines. Read the Supreme Court decisions that articulate the same view, the same perception of black people. And you will find the same thing. According to the Law Code of Manu, black people were made from the feet of the god Purusha and were predetermined to be slaves forever. It also prescribed punishments for any Dravidian, for any Dalit, for any Andamanese people who rebelled. Torture and murder. The name Dalit for the untouchable means broken, oppressed. Take that pattern and place it upon the condition of African Americans in the United States in the past and today. We are broken. We are oppressed. We may as well be called Dalit. We may as well be called Dalit. We suffer the same conditions. You may think because you can buy a McDonald's hamburger, you're in a better condition than the Dalit people. Well, that is just, if you believe that, a reflection of your ignorance. Now, here's something that I want to conclude with. There are hundreds of millions of Indians who are outcast, lower caste, untouchables in India who believe the basic premises of Hinduism. They believe in white supremacy. If you go to India, the white complexion Indians have all the wealth. They live in the north. And as you move through the south, they become poorer and more destitute, or they live in the shanty towns around the cities. They are black. And that is the social reality. But I want you to understand this. They believe in Hinduism, and so they themselves reinforce their own oppression, their own exclusion, their own poverty. Now, here in the United States, there are millions of African Americans, descendants of slavery, Latinos, Asian Americans, and even some Native Americans, if you can believe that, who are white supremacists. Many don't know it, but they have internalized into their subconscious the very same stereotypes of themselves and those of their ethnic communities that white supremacists who are Caucasians have internalized from generation to generation. And when the oppressed accepts the basic premises about them given by the oppressor, there is no hope. Millions of African American descendants of slaves are white supremacists. You may be standing next to one right now. If, when you pray, if you are a Christian, when you kneel down and you pray, when you close your eyes and you think of God, if you see in your imagination a white man, an image of a white man, you have lost your mind. First of all, God is not a man, God is not a woman, God is not a thing. You have lost your mind. And that is evidence that you are a white supremacist. The Congress of the United States said it very clearly in their first session with regard to immigrants. And this is what Donald Trump believes. He won't say it publicly, but his actions say it loud. Any alien, being a free white person, may be admitted to become a citizen, end quote. There are many Eastern Europeans in the United States who are illegal immigrants, and you do not see any effort on the part of the government to round them up, do you? White supremacy is a religion, and the conversation about it should begin to be in those terms, or you don't have a single 1% chance of overcoming this serious problem of white supremacy. It is institutionalized. It is real, even though it's based upon a lie. It is real in its consequences. It was real in El Paso, Texas. It was real in Dayton, Ohio. It was real in Gilroy. And there's going to be more instances of these types of atrocities because America is sick. Millions of white persons are sick. They're insane. And they're going to act it out whenever they have an opportunity to do so. I am Dr. Stephen Nur Ahmed. Peace be unto you.